Now, I had no intentions on buying one of these. I went to the local game store and I saw it and I realized I really want a scorpion from this because I love the scorpion. And then I opened it and it was a surprise. It was not the one I wanted, which are the way with these things. They're gambling for something. So I'm gonna paint this dude as the realm of the endless dynasty. I'm taking model color purple and I'm going to start building up the base. And after that, I'm going to start now with the sponge method. And I'm mixing the purple with royal purple from both from model color. I'm slowly mixing more and more of the royal purple in here, so like my previous videos, I'm building up that gradient from one color to another, getting to the highest points. I do believe at this point it's about 80% royal purple because I'm trying to build up to that royal purple to the very end where it's straight 100% royal purple. But I'm really liking the way this is looking. I like the royal purple with that violet undertone. Now to wash the recesses, I'm doing it's kind of a watered down mix of violet and dark blue, and I'm just letting it kind of flow into the recesses just so I can build up that kind of blue blend to the violet, just to make it kind of pop just a little bit more. Next, I'm taking old gold from model color and just going to pick out all the points of this urban mech. And let me just be honest, there are a lot of crazy cool details in this thing compared to the other models. I really like this. The only thing I don't like is the scale. It's just a bit too big, but it looks really cool. And I do know there's been a bit of a controversy. Some people like Gothic and some people don't. I just got the blind box because I wanted that scorpion, but here I am painting an urban mech and I'm really liking this thing. Next, I'm using Iron Hand Steel just to pick out all those metal pieces. There are the jump jets and a couple of the other pieces underneath and around it, but I really want to leave more of the violet on this model and not pick out so much because I'm going to be doing a Grimdark style wash in a little bit. Now I want to start working on the whites, and I have off-white and a medium gray mix decently mixed with water because I don't want it to become very like streaky, and I'm just letting it flow on these areas. And I believe some of the spots I put 2 to 3 coats. When it comes to putting white over any kind of dark paint, it's best to go for 2 to 3 coats. And I'll be honest, if I made a mistake with this white, I think it'd be kind of challenging to cover up because I've spent so much time working on that shades from the violet to the deep blue all the way up to the royal purple. So if a mistake was made, I definitely would probably have to glaze the color over the white. Now I want to start washing the whites with watered down gray. And I do notice here it is way too dark on this area. I go back later and I think I use, I keep saying London gray, sea foam, not sea foam gray. It's a lighter gray. I forgot what it is from Model Color, but I used that there on that cloth. Now washing the golds and the silver, and I use this flesh shade from Citadel, and I do it twice over the golds because it kind of gives like a bronzy effect. And I even seen someone wash them 3 times, going 3 times or 2 times with the flesh shade, and then going 1 time with Agrax Earth Shade. I tried that 1 time. It gets very dark, but it's kind of a cool effect of kind of like this antique gold. And washing the silvers with none other but Nolan oil. Now I thought I'd leave this here because this was actually a mistake. I chose lilac purple mixed with the royal purple, and this ended up being a way off of a color. So it's kind of interesting where you can look back and you can see, hey, I made this mistake, but I end up covering this because I did not like it. Now this is the mix I want. I want more of a royal purple with a little bit, possibly I might have had a little bit of violet mixed with ice yellow, and I'm going to start using that for my edge highlights because it just kind of makes it more of like a pinkish color. That's kind of what I want on the highlights here rather than a light purple. And at this point, I kind of wanted to build up more of the royal purple. So I went right back to the sponge and I'm starting to hit those main areas that would be hit from a light source from up top because I want it to pop more, almost like kind of like the airbrush effect that you're getting. And finally, the last edge highlight, adding more of the ice yellow with the royal purple so I can build up the edge highlight even more. I couldn't help it. I had to make it pop a little bit more. I'm adding a lot more of the ice yellow to this mix, and I'm just hitting those small amounts just so I can have more of that kind of glow because I am going to be coming with a rust red wash later. To highlight the whites, I'm using just off-white mixed with Green Stuff World's Atomic White and 50/50 on that, and just hitting some of those edges just so I can start building that up to make it pop because I originally just used off-white mixed with gray. And this is the point where I realized those lines were way too dark. And I've made this mistake with cloths in the past when I was painting, especially when I was painting Dark Angels with that khaki leg for like scouts. And I realized I was adding too dark of a wash in the center. So this is going to be something of a topic later to look at, but good ways of washing cloth and not making the mistake I just did. Now the highlights on the gold, I'm being very, very subtle because I know I want this to be more of a grim dark look. The wash here is using red rust and white spirits mixed, just so it can flow through all the crevices and areas of the mech. And I'm putting this all over, but just in the recesses because I know I need to clean it up afterwards. And the effect is quite cool, and I'm only doing it really on the purples. I'm not putting on the golds or other areas. To clean it up, I have just white spirits on the sponge, and I cut one of my sponges to do this, and very useful. Cut the sponges because it helps. And the cleanup is quite easy, but just being careful. But the makeup sponge makes this cleanup really easy with white spirits. I want to start doing some like weathering, so I'm using this like sponge with black, and whenever you're doing this, it's good to take off a lot of the paint beforehand, so you're getting just these small little chips of black into it, because it's kind of giving that illusion of scratching. You don't want blotching of black on the model, especially if you spent so much time building up a gradient and layer just to mess it up doing a big blotch of black. Yeah, I've done that. Now I'm using lilac, and I'm just hitting some of the small spots where the black was done. I could do this also with the sponge, but I was trying to kind of hit the blacks, but the black was so small that it's very difficult, so I would definitely use a sponge. And the next step of the weathering, I'm using the iron hand steel, and I'm just kind of scratching and putting kind of like scuff marks all over where it would. If you look at reference art, you see like the edges of these mechs being scratched. So I'm kind of trying to do that. So I was flipping back and forth from reference materials just to kind of get an idea of what I was doing. It's also good to know I don't have much paint on this brush. I definitely would be wary if I had too much paint and tried scratching, if I blotched the paint here as well. So being careful when you're doing these kind of scratches and kind of weathering effects with very little paint on your brush is super helpful. Now that I'm done with a lot of the work on the mech, I want to work on the lens. So I took dark red and I mixed a little black. My original intent was to paint the pilot in the center. I gave up on that because the lens is so small, but I'm going to try that next time because I see it in reference material and I think it'd be really cool to try that. I'm using the red fluorescent and glazing it over where I put the ice yellow. And then also I want to do a bit of a glow on this, and I hit it on the edges. And I noticed after painting this, I painted the lens on the mech. I don't know if you've done this before, but off of camera, I had to clean that up. Now, I thought this was interesting. That little ball thing is a spotlight, and it's only seen if you look at the reference material. It's kind of cool. So I just tried to put a little bit of a glow effect by using fluorescent yellow and glazing some of that yellow around on the edges that where the light would catch. And granted, it could have been something a little bit different, but I like it. And to highlight the whites, I'm just going straight with the atomic white just so I can hit the final edges. Now painting this cloth, I'm kind of copying something I saw on the reference material. It was kind of emanating this like cistern from their logo or whatever that thing is. So I'm using the royal purple and I'm tracing out the design first, and then I come back with a fine detail brush to kind of clean it all up. And this has always been key for me when doing these kind of things, is first tracing out, then doing the more detail. Now, I really wish I knew more about these guys, because BattleTech Gothic is very like something new. I didn't even have time to read the source material. I was just looking at the images, but I'm pretty sure these guys look very much like a group from the Free Worlds League, and I like the color scheme, so I'm thinking about painting up a lance like these guys because they're quite interesting. Now with the base finished and the bottle varnished, I'm really happy how this turned out. Kind of trying to do kind of this like this grim dark mech, and I'm happy. Like, this is quite cool. So I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you also really enjoyed this mech painting. And something I've seen recently, people complaining about the size comparison of these things. So here's kind of what they look like compared to my Clint mech and the Blood Asp. Nonetheless, thank you for watching and have an amazing day and upcoming week.